So today, got it. So today we're going to talk about some of the applications of one of the most popular augmented reality mobile platforms, Eighth Wall, which is now managed by Niantic of Pokemon Go fame, perhaps. So just really quickly, what like mobile AR is. Mobile AR is anything that you can launch, not on a desktop, on a phone or a tablet or possibly even headsets, where you can look through the camera and augment your reality. I won't describe it too much. We'll just show it. But I wanted to show really quickly like what you can do with it. This is just off of Eighth Wall's website. You can build entirely new digital worlds in this platform. You can modify reality and place 3D objects in real space that you can view through your device's screen, all off of a website rather than an app you have to download. You can do cool marketing stuff like this where you can track an image target and have an effect happen once the camera sees that this image comes in frame. There's stuff like face filters like you've seen on Instagram or Snapchat. It's a pretty cool tool. And the code might look intimidating to someone who's not a coder, but I have dived into this, and the tutorials are very fleshed out on their website and make developing very easy for beginners. Filters is. So I'll just introduce Rigel Benton from Niantic. Take it away, if you will.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Rigel Benton. I'm the senior designer at Eighth Wall, now part of Niantic. So I have a deck I can go through if you want. And then
let's do that.
And then how much time do I have? Because I want to make sure I have enough time for all of your demos and everything.
This is scheduled to go through the end of the hour, but I'm free to stick on afterwards too and help people when they get to specific questions. So let's cut it in half and say 30 minutes.
Okay, I can do that. All right, there's a lot of content, but but it's fun content.
Great.
Okay, cool. All right. So like I said, I'm the senior designer on the Eighth Wall team at Niantic. Niantic is kind of divided into two pieces. One is what we call platform, the other is games. And so games you're probably familiar with, Pokemon Go, Pikmin Bloom, and Ingress are 3 games in market right now. And we've recently announced an NBA All World, which is coming out soon, and Peridot, which is sort of like a AR first Tamagotchi that you can explore throughout the world. And we announced also recently a Marvel game coming out next year. So we're all hands on deck supporting the games, but then sort of apart from that, we have our whole platform business, which is all about producing tools that make it easy for people to create cool AR content. And Eighth Wall is all about web AR content specifically. So we launched Eighth Wall a few years ago, and we learned a lot. Use it with a Unity plugin that we had before pivoting to web, and it quickly gained a lot of traction because the thing that we've always believed and we still believe here at Niantic is that augmented reality is for everyone. It should be very easy to access on all kinds of devices, immersive, compelling AR content. But why the web? Why is the web an important place for consuming AR? Well, to start, it has huge reach, massive reach. Instead of needing to develop an AR app for iOS and an AR app for Android, which depend on things like ARKit or AR Core, LiDAR sensors that some phones may not have. Eighth Wall works out of the box with all of those devices, and also HMDs and desktops, and and we can get into all that later. So that's a big reason why people want to use WebAR. You also have all of the creative freedom to build what you want without needing to go through an app store. So there's no app store review process. This content lives on your own website. So when someone visits, Nike.com, they experience Nike AR. And so they don't have to go through a Snapchat, or a Facebook or something to access that content. And you can leverage any web technology that currently exists. So this is like Google Analytics is world-class analytics solution. You can have that in your AR experience and leverage all of those tools. And then, of course, no app required, right? So a big part of a big point of friction in adopting new technology and content is getting someone to download an app. You no longer have to worry about that. You can put a link anywhere. You can apply a QR code, to the back of a magazine, to a bus ad. You can experience this content inside of, apps like Snapchat or, Instagram. So you can embed it in existing websites. There's a lot of places that you can put this content, and it meets, the content can meet consumers where they are instead of needing to drive them to someplace else. And this has been really successful for us. We've launched over 2,000 commercial experiences powered by Eighth Wall since we released Eighth Wall Web. We've touched every vertical out there, basically every brand within that vertical. I think we actually have launched an experience for every automotive brand that exists. Yes, including Bentley and Rolls-Royce and Aston Martin and all those crazy ones. And so it's been a wild ride being part of all of this and seeing all of this take place. But, where do you find it? I mentioned bus ads and things. And so, a big part of making sure that your WebAR content can be seen is looking at the media landscape and figuring out all the ways in which people can access it. And so, we've done things with the Super Bowl halftime show. We did the VMAs a couple of years ago. So a lot of TV commercials will have QR codes that appear that people can scan their phones with, print media. So big full page ads, the LA Times, after the Dodgers, I guess, won the World Series. And then we have, digital out of home, traditional out of home. This is one was really cool where they put an image target of the Pac-Man game on top of a Pizza Hut box. And so you could play the Pac-Man game. That was a really successful campaign. It won a bunch of awards. And then also like in store, right? So retail activity. And then, in terms of advertising, because I know this is an advertising school, we have several different strategies going on right now with this. So we have third-party ad distribution. We have a number of different, programmatic partners we're working with to deploy AR as part of, interactive display ad content on publisher sites. And so this is a demo that I put together, kind of showcasing how our technology could work in that way. And then, this is a test that we're currently doing right now inside Pokemon Go, where we're deploying WebAR ads to players where they can, walk around and then engage with these, choose to opt in to, tapping on a balloon and then engaging with that WebAR experience and then driving conversion this way. And so, so there's a lot of ways in which, Niantic and Eighth Wall have been coming together, and advertising is a really great opportunity for that. So the Eighth Wall product is kind of divided into two pieces. So one is the Eighth Wall engine. So that's all of the magic that has to do with the computer vision, the world, and environment sensing. And then we have the tools, the ways in which, you can build Eighth Wall experiences that leverage the power of our engine. So on the engine side, we have world effects. This is our bread and butter. This is what we're famous for, is markerless SLAM in the browser without any external libraries necessary, right? So we don't use ARKit, we don't use ARCore. We do all of this client side. So all of the computer vision processing is happening on device. And now you have the choice between, do you want to display the content from your scene in real world scale? So you want a car to appear one-to-one with what its actual size is, or do you want to make it, respond to the space that the user has available to them? So, we call this responsive scale, where the camera opens up and, you're at your desk and you still want to see the car, and you don't want to just see, a fraction of a tire of a car. And so this is a setting that you can switch in the engine. And we see a lot of use cases for both. Absolute, obviously, for things like furniture in your space and in retail and commerce and things like that. Whereas like responsive is great for marketing activations. We have an extensive integration with different hologram playback systems. So this is a sort of a sampling of some of the different campaigns that we've seen over the years, leveraging volumetric video with Eighth Wall. So this one is by Dimension. This is using the Microsoft Mixed Reality Capture, studio with Burger King to display a grime artist in the UK who had a song called Wappa, and then Burger King heard about that, and so they wanted to do Wappa on a Whopper. And it was this whole thing, and it's just really fun. This one is Sam Smith with Spotify, and I really love this one. One, it's beautiful and it's really cool looking, but also, so with Spotify, they actually put the QR code on the album art for his new single at the time, Diamonds. You scan that QR code, and then your phone became the image target. So you used your friend's phone to like scan this, and then he would break out of the Spotify interface and start his like virtual concert like right in front of you. This is Ava Max with Coca-Cola Starlight, which was like an exclusive version, flavor of Coke that came out, I think, earlier this year. And you scan the bottle, and then there was a whole holographic concert that you could, watch and walk around and see all these really cool effects, like these laser backup dancers she's got going on. And then I just threw this one in here. This is from 4D Views. This is one of our sample projects. I just think it's super cool that you can capture fire in volumetric video, and there's no VFX. It's really volumetric fire being captured. I think another piece that another myth that often comes up about WebAR is like how it compares visually to native AR. And I'm always trying to dispel these myths and say like you can actually go really far with the level of realism possible with WebAR. And so I put together this thing called Real-Time Reflections, which is a component you can add to any project, or sorry, any 3D model in your project, and then it allows you to update basically a live environment map applied to the object with the camera feed, kind of updating every frame with the correct information. So it can really add a lot of wow factor to your 3D models in your scene. And then this is a technique called transmission, where you might notice inside the gummy bear, it distorts both the real world and other virtual objects, like this green gummy bear through the red one. And so that's another really cool technique to use. And then here we're doing hologram relighting. Cool. So metaversal deployment is what we decided to call our system for developing one WebAR scene, and then it working automatically in headsets and on desktop. And so there's like a few different components to this, but basically like whenever you go and create a world effect project with Eighth Wall, we have a compatibility layer that whenever you open the same link on a headset, like a Quest or a HoloLens, for instance, it will sort of intuitively figure out like all the elements in your scene that belong, in the like background or in the foreground. It will put all of your 2D UI on top of this floating tablet that follows you around. And that tablet is fully interactive, in VR and AR. And so, the idea behind this was we wanted to make a way for people to port their content to these headsets and get them ready for when headsets become more popular, without having to create a whole new, version of your existing project. And we often liken this internally to whenever flip phones had the internet. It was sort of like a really basic version of what the desktop experience was, but then slowly over time, the iPhone got a better browser, and then people started making mobile first sites. And so this is sort of the version of that, we think, for HMDs, where you'll design scenes for phones, but then they also work on headsets, and that's just a starting point. You can keep going from there. So here's what that looks like for UI, for input. And so, here you can drag the screen to move the robot around on the left, but then in VR, you can choose to use the joystick. You can drag in the air with your hand, and then game pads and keyboard support. So really just thinking about when you design something now, this can be run on all these different types of devices. Like, how are you thinking about how your content will work in all these different places? So here's an example of environments. Where in AR, you don't have an environment, you're leveraging the world around you, but in VR, you need to create one. And so we have tools to do this pretty easily. Embedding AR in other websites is really popular. I mentioned this before with the advertising stuff, but even just embedding it as part of a publication, you want to learn more about the content of the article in AR. That's pretty cool. And then we recently announced Lightship VPS for web. So this is our first real true integration with Niantic's AR mapping tech, where you can scan places in the real world or access scans that were contributed by Pokemon Go players, and then develop AR content for that particular place. And there's a lot of really, really cool things that you can do with this. I'll kind of skip to the end here. So here's an example coming up of applying physics colliders to the real world, and you're driving around this little rover, and then here I can bank off the fountain, collect the coin. So really exciting stuff. We launched a private beta about midway through summer with some of our premier partners who use 8th Wall all the time, and so they put together this really cool collection of demos from all over the world of really interesting places and things that they were experimenting with, trying to show off all their creative chops. This one's really fun, actually, the Designium, and I can share a link to this one later. But so in Japan, so this is actually a procedural example. So instead of choosing a particular place to create AR content against, like a 3D model of a statue, for instance, this one works anywhere that VPS is available. So any place that has been scanned, you can, open up your phone, you can point it at that thing, and then you can, splat it with paint, like a paint gun. And so I think a lot of the future forward-looking VPS content will be more procedural and less bespoke, and it'll just sort of work everywhere that you go. So that's cool. And then we launched. So here's how it looks, right? So this is what we call the geospatial browser, which is a new feature that we added alongside VPS. We have this map of the world. You can click on the different way spots, which oftentimes are like Pokestops. Then you can view the 3D model data, download that mesh, create all of your AR content against that mesh for reference, and then import that content back into your web app, and then you can even remotely debug it either on desktop or on mobile. And then here you go. You can see what that looks like when you actually go to the real world location and you start using VPS there. So pretty straightforward flow. You can nominate and create your own way spots. There's an app called Wayfair, which you use to scan those way spots to create that 3D data. But the vast majority of the VPS content already is crowdsourced from Pokemon Go players, like I said. So alongside VPS, you got to know, in the DesignEM example, like where do the 3D scans exist? Where do I need to go to use VPS? And so we worked on building this as a module. So this is something that you can import into any eighth wall project. It's the Lightship Maps module, and all these little dots that you see here are actually wayspots from that map that we were just looking at. And as you walk around the world in this Pokemon Go Niantic sort of style interface, you can discover either any waystspot that has VPS content or specific ones that you've added to your project that you want people to go and engage with to do, an AR scavenger hunt or a game or anything really that you want to build. And in less than a month after launch, we actually had Coca-Cola and launch a full end-to-end VPS scavenger hunt using all those tools I just walked you through. This was actually on the USC campus for Halloween. They did, it was a pretty scoped, more experimental campaign, but here you can see pretty amazing. The moment that they localize against the vending machine, you kind of enter this like upside down world where you can walk around and they want you to scan your hand, and then this like really cool animation happens, and then I think at the end you earn like candy that gets unwrapped on Halloween at midnight, and then you can see if you won an NFT or Coachella tickets or something. So this was a really well received campaign, and Coke loved it a lot, and now they want to do a lot more of these location based experiences. And then there's what the map looks like, where they have like a ghost, like a silver ghost is like the user as you walk around campus and find all of the different way spots. And image targets, we have both flat and curved image targets. Here are just a few examples that I like that showcase how flat image targets work. Here's like a full game on a box. You could do portals inside of them. This is in a retail store. We already talked about this. Here's like, flat image targets inside of a magazine. For curved, we identified consumer packaged goods as like a really huge opportunity for image targets, and we had several customers, including Tactic, who is responsible for the 19 Crimes wine AR. If you've ever seen that before, it's really awesome. And so we worked with them to identify all the use cases here, and then we launched curved image targets, and this has been a really popular feature for a long time now. And, like sort of as a reminder, all of these different technologies can stack. So here are examples of curved image targets running the same time as world tracking. You can actually do image targets at the same time as VPS. There's a lot of really interesting ways, I think, to combine these different features to create really interesting and compelling content. So here, like the light source is attached to the bottle and the shadows move on the pumpkins. And then here's, the most embarrassing slides. I always have to remind, so Face Effects launched during lockdown, and so that's why I'm the only person in these videos. But Face Effects, there's two things you want to remember. You can track different points on the face and attach content to it. And then you can also construct a mesh of the face. And then apply effects to that mesh. And so here's what that sort of looks like, where you actually take the mesh and then, copy and paste it, animate it, and you're not even using the camera texture anymore or anything. And so face effects are really fun, and we've seen a lot of really great campaigns use that too. You can also do blend shapes. So this is like, if you want to do face puppeteering, this is how that works. So in a moment, you'll see as the user's like moving their face around, it's animating a character. And then how do you build all this stuff, right? The cloud editor. So here's a very, very quick overview of what that looks like. And I'm sure you'll hear more about this in a moment, but this is just, the go-to place for where people author all of the eighth wall stuff you've seen. We've got integrated source control, so you can work on a really large team of people, and you can all be landing code synchronously, asynchronously, and then you can, if you have two people who landed code at the same time and it's the same file, you have ways of resolving this so you don't delete anything important. And then you can view the diff of the files through the interface, and then publishing, right? So all that stuff that you were looking at, they're all websites that, people are advertising to to customers, and you can decide when you want to publish those websites, when you want certain commits, like the last thing that you landed, to be pointing to those public websites, or do you want to have everything on staging, which is sort of like a website where you can add, it's like a beta website that you can add a password to, and only certain people who have that password can access that content. I mentioned modules in the past when describing the maps feature. So this is a new thing we just launched. I'm actually working on a sample module right now as we speak to help people learn more about how to build these themselves. But the gist with a module is you can take any code or assets and you can put it in something that you can then import into your other projects really easily. And so you no longer need to like copy and paste code from one project to another or clone a project just to have code in there that you had in the previous one. This is now portable, and you can even introduce like some input fields to customize different things. So kind of like a WYSIWYG interface. And then we also have our sample project library here that you can see. We have a huge number of sample projects that are really helpful. And every day when we introduce a new feature or we discover something either like through support that we think is we need to explain in some way, we'll just go ahead and generate a new sample project. So definitely go and check out the project library to get a sense of all of the things that you can do. And then you can clone as many projects as you want to and experiment and try out new things. We also have what we call the Discovery Hub. So similar to the sample project, every one of these is a project, but not all of them you can try out because they're created by our customers to show off all of their great work. And so you'll find like a lot of really cool, inspirational things in here about, I'm looking in here like Lego Masters, the TV show. I'm obsessed with that. There's a really cool Lego experience that was made by Trigger that helps you build Legos. It was tied into the show. You've got Dune, where you can make your own Dune avatar. So definitely go and check out the Discover Hub. And I'm also, by the way, happy to answer any questions about any of these projects that you see. We're very close to all of our partners, and they love showing off and talking about their work. So if you're curious how any of these projects were achieved, I'm sure I can help with that. Speaking of partners, we have a whole 56, I think probably more than that at this point, 56 partners that brands will come to our website, they'll find their portfolios, and then they'll reach out. And so a lot of them get business by becoming partners through, creating really great projects and earning that partner badge. And then, we have a lot of really awesome content that comes out of our social. We have a very active blog, an active Twitter as well, though, who knows how long Twitter will last, but, definitely give us a follow if you want to see more cool AR stuff. And then tutorial content, we have a lot of that on our site as well. I'm working on a VPS tutorial. It's not out yet, but look forward to that. And then please join our dev Slack. We have, that is our first, place where we check every day in real time to see when people run into issues. We have a few dedicated support people, but I'm also on there and I try to pop in when I can and help answer any questions. It's very active, and apart from even the Eighth Wall folks, there's a lot of other fellow developers who are really helpful, and they answer a lot of questions there too. Okay, so with that, we got through my whole presentation. Hope within the timeline.
No, that's perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for that introduction. I think a lot of the students are looking and kind of ideating on what they want to do with Eighth Wall for their projects. So you gave a pretty good rundown of a bunch of possibilities. I would definitely second checking out the website and all the projects that are on there. That's how I got started. It's a great resource. It's a very beginner friendly place to learn.
Cool.
So I mentioned this in the chat as well, but I wanted to give everyone a chance to get on our TXI workspace for 8th Wall. So if you are following along at home and you would like to start developing today, just send me the email that you use to sign up for your 8th Wall account, and I can add you to our workspace for TXI. Okay, so what I was thinking we do is there's like a beginner's like first hour with 8th Wall tutorial on the website. And I wanted to go through that so everyone can kind of see what the tools look like. I'm trying to find it right now. But I think that would be a good place to start. The great thing is, like you mentioned, there's no, oh, here it is. There's nothing you have to download or install. So once you create, oh, that's the wrong screen, isn't it? Oh, no, that's the right screen. Once you create your account, no, you send me your email, Chris. So once you create your account, so we'll skip past this. Here is what like the homepage looks like. There's a few different tabs. Workspaces where you'll find, you can actually see all the other TXI projects. So I'm going to go ahead and log in a different tab and show you what our workspace looks like. So once you're added to our workspace, this is where you can see Texas Immersive right here. Workspace, here's a bunch of projects we've worked on. Here's Be a Longhorn. And you can see past projects that people have worked on, including modules if people have posted those. So to start a new project, there's a big purple button, which is nice right here. Start a new project. 8th Wall hosted, we'll do that. We'll do test project 1. All of this, you just fill in. Educational use. And then you get this splash screen where you can choose from a bunch of templates, quick start things. And this is where I would come in with an idea of what your project is, or you can just start to browse. Things are sorted by like face effects, world effects. I think the first thing that I did was an image target tracking thing. So I'll just type in target. So let's try image target. So this one, I mean, all of these are pretty self-explanatory. This one, it seems like you can pick something up, and I don't know what SLAM is. Rigel, do you know what SLAM is?
Yeah, so SLAM is simultaneous localization and mapping. It's another way that we say like world tracking.
Okay, great. So it seems like you are tracking on an image and then you're able to move it around the world, which is evident in this. Yeah.
So you're able to, I hope there's not echo. Sorry.
There's a little bit, but it's okay.
You're able to interact with objects in the scene that then interact with the world around you. So in this case, we have the table being like mapped to a ground plane. And then as you drop the coconuts, they interact with that ground plane dynamically in the scene. And Rigel, feel free to correct me on any of that.
Yeah.
We did use this project as a baseline for one of the projects that I worked on at Fair Worlds this summer. So.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I lost the templates page. Here it is. So I'll just choose something. Image targets flyer, I think, is the one that I started with. This one's really simple. You just it just finds the image target, and then you can do anything you need with the image target. So I will launch. Oh, this is so you can demo it with your phone. So if people want to demo it really fast, I think you can just scan this QR code. I'm going to try it.
Yeah, and I think if you scroll down, right, it'll have the image target.
Yeah, it should have the flyer for it.
Yeah, so you basically open that QR code, and that QR code at the top right, is that the okay?
Yeah, it's the same link.
Yeah, and you should just be able to, if you open it up on your phone, point your phone at the screen and get the effect of the 3D object in front of that jellyfish poster. You can also, it looks like you can rotate it with your finger. I'll post this in the chat if anyone wants to try it out, because we'll keep moving. So I'm going to clone this project and just open it up and see what's inside. And I'm approaching this like I don't know what's going on at all, which is true because I just picked this randomly. And basically what we start to see is a few pieces of code on the left. It looks like different files. You get a printout here at the bottom, which is your console. And you get some other tabs on the left where you can see things like your project, where you can manage things about your project. This is the code. This is kind of the history of how you edit your project. And then this is where you manage your image targets. In this case, it's the jellyfish image. And this is, I think, is this new feature you were talking about, Rigel?
Yeah. So this is a little bit more advanced than the image targets, but yeah, this is where you can go, and you're actually over our office right now, so you can click on something.
Oh, great!
It'll show you a 3D model of like that.
Very cool. Yeah, so this is the new feature Rigel's talking about with real world scans.
Can I do one QR code for multiple image targets? With this? Yeah, I can, right?
So you can have the image target for your project, and then you can have like as many image targets as you want inside your project. You can do up to 10 at a time with world tracking off. So, but you can swap the sets at any point in your project.
Yeah.
I will also preface that with there are only 5 of those image targets get loaded automatically. So if you ever like add the 6th one and you're in a world tracking project that you've already disabled, you will need to still like set which image targets you want to do manually. It's just one line of code, but it's something to consider. If you do run into that, feel free to let me know and I'll help you with it, because we ran into that.
Yeah, good call out.
Yeah, nice. But as you can see, if you're gonna start editing this and you don't want to touch any code, it's completely possible. If I were to want to switch out image targets, I would go to this image target tab, create a new image target, upload a picture here. Let me see if I have any pictures I could upload really quickly. This is something on my desktop. It's a logo. Great. We want it to be oriented correctly, and it looks like we want it to be rectangular.
Ben, I will warn you that might not be a super great image target because there's not a lot of like contrast, and well, the image target anyways will get put into black and white, but there's a lot of like space that's the same color. So typically with image targets, you want to have a lot of variation in shapes and detail.
Let's use this random image I have then. Yeah, that's another good tip then. A lot of different, I mean, this looks like something that the camera will be able to catch on to then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
And also all of these image targets, I want to say, are like a 4:3 aspect ratio. So that's also something to look at. So if you have a different aspect ratio than that, it's gonna potentially, like, you might have to cut parts of it off. It'll still scan pretty well. It's just make sure to take like the most detailed part of your image as like the target.
Right, exactly. And all of these tips are also written down here step by step, so you don't have to remember them, but those are good tips to remember. And this screen here, I just uploaded this picture that I had on my desktop, and then it gives you an option to test it out. So I scanned this QR code. It opened me up in an eighth wall link. And then if I look at it, it'll put a frame around the image you uploaded, so that you can double check to see that your image is being tracked correctly. So if I close this, you'll see this is automatically added to my image targets. And we'll change the name to Ben Test 1. And it regenerated a QR code here. So if I want to think about changing this now in my app, I think this is where I start to go into the code and look at some of the files here. So things are broken up into these app files and assets. And I think right now we want to look at the app. I'm all doing this just off of intuition. So if you have any thoughts, Rigel or Daniel, please let me know. But basically what I'm doing is I'm looking for things that are called model target in the code. Without understanding anything about what the code is doing, I'm just looking for model target. It looks like it appears once right here. And let's see if it appears in any other file here. Not in the head.
So if you click that, like that little icon, the search icon above next to app.
Yeah.
You can do a code search across all your files.
Perfect.
And then
it looks like this is the only place that it shows up. So in theory, if I replace this with the name of my new file, it should now use that as the model target. So I think I called it Ben Test 1. And this is halfway there. Now we need to actually change the flyer to have that image. So I'm going to do some quick image editing here off camera and bring up the flyer and just drop that new image into there. Sure, let's put it right over here.
It kind of looks like a jellyfish.
It kind of does look jelly-like, yeah. I'm going to export this to my desktop. And now I want to upload this new flyer. I don't want to get rid of the old one. So there's a plus button, upload. If I look on my desktop, it's right here. And we will just rename this flyer 2. And also note that green circle means it's a new file. And I think this yellow circle means that you've modified the file. So now I'm going to go look for flyer JPEG and look to see if I can switch it to flyer 2. I could have, of course, overwritten this, but for now we'll just look for flyer. Oh. So where is this referenced? Oh, is it referenced? Do we even need to do anything after that?
No, this is just an example of like something you could print, you know?
Yeah, okay, cool. So since we've already put this image target in 8th wall, it should already be functional then, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to scan on my phone the QR code in the top right corner, and a jellyfish should show up.
You would need to you need to scan the preview code. See where it says preview in the top middle. So this is your developer link. The one that says 8th.io/jelly, that's pointing to the a public version of this project.
Gotcha. So that's a good segue then, because you can rapidly iterate with this program by this preview thing right here, so that you don't have to keep re-exporting the project. So this will take you to a auto-generated demo version. I'm getting an error, but I don't know if it's.
That's not a. It's like it doesn't affect anything.
Cool.
It works. I tried it.
Yeah. So if you weren't able to try it at home, basically I just replaced that image target, and a lot of development with templates, I think, is basically as simple as just replacing assets. If I wanted to replace the actual model of the jellyfish, I would look for, jellyfish model.glb in any of the code. Here's an instance of that. Doesn't look like it's anywhere else. So it could be as easy as replacing this. And really quickly, I should say GLB is a kind of an AR specific, I guess, 3D model file type. And converting to GLB, I think there's a tutorial on 8th wall as well for that. But that's just another step you'll have to do. But this is about the extent of what I've done in 8th wall, is basically just gone in and replaced things, changed very clearly written parameters here, like intensity and position. This is a light, but everything is abstracted away to a point where, you're not writing code as much as you are kind of changing lines of code and maybe rearranging them. At least that's been my experience so far. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing so I can add people to the 8th wall. But I want to use the rest, the remaining time, not much time. If anyone has any questions or ideas on what they want to do for their projects, this is a great time for you to spitball.
Does anyone want to share? Lucas?
Yes, I can share one. So my group wants to sort of prototype like an AR fishing type of experience. So it's kind of like the phone is your fishing rod and you can use it to fish stuff out. Do you have any ideas of where we might want to start with something like that?
Oh, Ben, I think you're muted.
Great, yeah. So I've only used 8th wall when it comes to specifically looking through the camera to do things. I'm not familiar if there's in addition you can do motion things.
Sorry, can you say that again, Lucas?
Yeah, so basically it's just using your phone as a fishing rod, but you are still looking through the camera.
it's just you're using that kind of motion like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I think, you know, one problem you might face would be like if you're inducing motion blur by like moving your phone too quickly, then you might lose tracking. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, you can tap into like the motion data in your project and like listen to that. I would probably like go about like listening for that motion data and then picking up on a pattern and seeing like, you know, can you identify the pattern and then have that do the action? But like I said at the beginning, I think like if you're doing that, your on-screen content might shift around a bit if you're moving your phone too violently.
Is there a particular demo that Lucas's team can kind of maybe start off with that's close to that idea?
I don't have. I can't think. It's like an interesting question. Like I haven't seen like an example of this that we have, but I can ask around and get back to you. Do you have like a way to contact me? Here's my email.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can always make small adjustments into the way that you go about that project, like doing, you know, like finger swipes to throw out the reel or something. Just making a small adjustment like that, I think you could find something pretty quickly that would work in eighth wall, rather than kind of fighting with an idea that doesn't fit exactly into what, you know, there might be a bunch of projects already posted for.
Is there like an example of that you can think of?
Yeah. So we have a project called, or we have a component called the gesture detector, which a lot of the projects use to like read swipes and like finger interactions on the screen. And so you can, you know, create your own gestures using this tool. Were you gonna say something, Daniel?
Yeah, sorry. I would probably recommend looking at the project that is, it's like gesture manipulation and world tracking at the same time. So that would give you like some examples of using gestures on your phone, or like single taps or multiple taps on the screen to manipulate content, as well as it would have some sort of plane that tracks a model. So if you have like a model of your pond, or like of your body of water that you want to fish into, that would like be static on the table as you like move your phone around, that would already be kind of built in that you could just model swap. And then also you could attach that gesture detector. It would already have the imports set up for you. And you would just mark like your fishing rod with like that it's tappable. I can send you a link to that project. That's just probably what I would recommend, like from what I'm thinking. But yeah, there might be a better option for that too. So I'd recommend looking at the project browser.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a quick question about audio files. Are you able to have audio as well?
Yeah. There's you know, you can play audio. We have like, there's an example of these things called audio sprites using a library called Howler.js. But then you can also just play audio tracks. If your video has audio, you can do that too. We have like a few different projects that kind of show that off. We even have like microphone, you know, like recording software where you can add your own audio on top of, like, mix it into the microphones. If you're doing like recording, you can do that.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I'll try to find some sound stuff.
Yeah, and as I'm like hearing some ideas, basically my workflow to try to see what I can find is, first I'm going to the project library and typing in some keywords like audio or sound. And if I'm not finding anything, I'm just opening up the documentation and just searching for like audio and sound and seeing what comes up.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding, so my team plans to do an AR around a space, like in a specific space, and I was figuring out which one will be the best way, either we scan the space and try to interact with it, but I think it's not the best idea, because what I have been reading is that the space that you scan needs to be very, needs to keep being the same always. It can't change too much, and we are basically constructing a new space around where people are going to interact. So my question here will be, might be easier or better to like target images around the space? And if that is the case, then can I have like an image that is the size of a wall to target, or it should be like specific sizes that I have to stick on or something?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, image targets can be any size. Our software it's just looking like a billboard that fills the screen is effectively the same thing to it as like a picture of the billboard that's on your desktop that you're testing, right? So size isn't a concern. It's really more about like how much of that can you fit in your phone camera. And then yeah, on like the VPS side, you're right that like temporary structures are, we haven't figured out a way to like accommodate those yet on the map, just because we're trying to like build this map of like a public map of the world right now of mostly static content, but the world is obviously changing all the time. And so the idea is that as more people scan more recent things, we will reactivate and remap those areas with more recent scan data. But yeah.
Like, I hope it might be possible in the future, as you do, like you scan the space and then you have a 3D object, 3D model, but it can be like a free feature that you can scan like any 3D object in the world, like not only in a space, but maybe, I don't know, the desk in my place or something like that. It's not that a possibility in the future or something?
Yeah, like 3D object tracking. Yeah, that's definitely something that we've talked about. But yeah, like right now, like VPS is really all about like activating places where like people find themselves often, and Pokemon Go is really the catalyst for this, because people who play that game are like drawn to specific places and they're encouraged to scan those places.
Have you you had talked about HMDs at the beginning, Rigel. Are you getting access to smart glasses for like multiplayer web AR games using VPS?
Another great question. So I don't know if you caught the news I guess it was either yesterday. Yeah, we had an event we had a keynote with Qualcomm during their like big event in Hawaii, where we announced our partnership with them for outdoor AR HMD glasses supporting VPS next year. And so that's like, pretty big, but we don't have at the moment like anything we can say about HMD integrations with VPS like at the moment, but it's definitely something that we're working on.
Do they have a creator program that they just opened up to try using their smart glasses?
Qualcomm?
Yeah.
So it's like we have like a reference design with Qualcomm. So like it would be our headset, but using their tech. So I don't know if there's like a program yet for that, but as soon as I have one, then I can let you know.
Okay.
I'll post a link to that too, because it's pretty cool looking.
Other questions from teams? Cool, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, our whole thing at Niantic is all about like going outside and like exploring and stuff. And so, that's like VPS and then this headset like being meant for outdoor use as opposed to indoor use.
Oh, Snapdragon. Remembering I met that guy. Good to know. Good to know.
Cool. Well, I dropped my email in the chat, but if anyone didn't catch it, it's rigel@nianticlabs.com or rigel@eighthwall.com. But I'm trying to, they're encouraging us to start using the Niantic Labs email. But yeah, happy to answer any questions anytime. Always available to my Longhorns. So hook 'em, and thanks so much.
Thanks, Rigel. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay,
Well, thanks. Bye.
bye. So should we wrap this? If anyone else has any questions or needs help, or you know where to find us? What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I mean,
Daniel?
I'm available on email or Discord. I think I got everyone who sent me a message to sign up. And if you didn't get signed up yet, just let me know.
Okay, sounds good.
We're doing a little bit of workshopping in the lab. If people want to work on some projects, I'll be here for a little bit if you need some help. I do also have one aside that I want to mention for people with a programming background is that having worked in eighth wall, like for clients at a company this past summer, eighth wall's largely built off of A-Frame, which is built off of Three.js, which is like a immersive framework for web development, basically. So if there's anything that you want to implement in eighth wall that doesn't have an example project for, or you can't find it in the documentation, sometimes you can look at other like A-Frame and Three.js documentation and see, and usually they're not plug and play solutions, but since everything's kind of based off the same thing, you can implement those same features with a pretty decent success rate. It's just going to take you a little bit of time. Additionally, the eighth wall documentation in general is kind of not great at giving you programming or like actual hard code examples. It gives you a lot of like, this is what you can do with this feature name, because they have stuff like SLAM where I'm like, I don't know what SLAM means. Let me look that up. And then it's like, oh, it's their world tracking engine. Cool. And then it's like, we'll demo a few different like properties that feature has, but then doesn't tell you how to actually access those properties in your code. So then you have to look at an example project to see how to actually interface it with your code, or don't be afraid to go to the all of their like code is open source, so you can go to their GitHub for the XR web plugin and implement that honestly in other A-Frame projects. Like you don't even need to use the eighth wall web IDE, which I also don't really like the eighth wall web IDE, but it's annoying enough to self-host it that you kind of have to use it. So those are my few complaints having worked with it, but otherwise it's a really great engine. I got to a level of proficiency with it that Arman and I, if anybody knows Arman, he just graduated from the Immersive Institute. We both worked at Fair Worlds, which is an immersive experience agency, this past summer, and he designed an AR scavenger hunt for a data conference that was happening downtown last September. He kind of designed everything, sent the assets my way, and then we made a whole app in like 3 days or like 4 days. So that was more from we were on time crunch scenario because our client didn't tell us what we want, but I digress in that regard as well. But if you want to check out at least the, I think the page is still live. If you just want to check out the, like the AR interface that we developed. And again, we did this in like a few days, so it's not great, but
yeah, but that might be really useful for like Christopher. I know you're online and working on, and I think Sam left, but the homeless team and audience class is thinking about some ARG through the city, so that might be fun to look at.
Yeah, well, if you go to the link that I just put in chat on your phone, and then well, probably one on your phone and one on another device. If you hit the found key button at the bottom of the page, that will bring you to the AR scanner. And then if you scan any of the like image targets on that clues page, it'll pull up a different 3D model with something that was like branded for our client. So it's like a product that you will not care about, but it's you know, it's the website and everything is like more themed for the data conference. So yeah.
It looks like I click on the found key and it says that it was taken down.
Oh, the project's been taken down? Of course it is. Okay, well, I think I
unfortunately.
still have access to the, that's probably, we probably purchased a commercial license and we didn't want to pay, or, you know, the company's not going to pay
Past
10
the
grand
date.
for past the 1 month. It's there, the eighth wall the eighth wall commercial licenses are rather expensive. So
which is a great reason why to sign up for our workspace, because this isn't the free trial is only 30 days. So there's not really another way to use eighth wall for free.
No. And actually, this is one that's used, like Daniel is saying, in the industry. And actually, I had a conversation with Fair Worlds this week looking for more people from Texas Immersive. So I know they'll be at our recruiter week in February that will be launching in the spring.
They have one office here and one in Seattle. They're cool people to work with, would recommend. So yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you, Daniel, for helping out. If there's not any other questions, I'm reachable by email, Discord. I assume, Daniel, you're in the lab. So yeah, we could probably stop this Zoom now.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Thank you.